They bullied the Black Elder at the gym until he showed his true power. You ever seen someone walk into the wrong place at the wrong time? That's what it looked like when he stepped through the door. Old man, faded hoodie, scuffed up sneakers, holding a gym bag that looked older than most of the fighters inside. The music was loud, the energy sharp. Everyone was young, strong, confident. And when they saw him, they laughed. One guy pointed his phone at him right away. "Yo, Grandpa's here to sign up for water aerobics." The others burst into laughter. He didn't say a word, just looked around, slow and calm, like he was seeing something no one else could. They didn't know him. Didn't care to. To them, he was just a joke. But by the time he left, not one of them was laughing. The man's name was Zeke. Nobody asked him, though. Not that day. He paid $10 at the front desk just to sit and watch. The guy behind the counter didn't even bother looking up when he handed him the crumpled bill. Zeke found a bench in the far corner. It was dusty, the kind of spot nobody wanted. He sat down slow, like his knees weren't what they used to be, and dropped his old gym bag at his feet. He just watched, all day. Didn't say a word. The fighters came and went, some training hard, others just posing for clips. One kid, Reese, was the loudest. Fast, flashy, always recording himself. Called himself the future of boxing. The gym treated him like a star. Zeke kept watching, didn't cheer, didn't clap, just watched. Every punch, every movement, every mistake. No one noticed how his eyes didn't miss a thing. No one except one girl. She was in the corner working the speed bag. Young, tough, focused, kept to herself. Zeke noticed her right away. Noticed how clean her form was, but how something in her rhythm was off. Like she knew what to do, but her body didn't fully believe it yet. Zeke leaned over, stood slowly, walked toward the water fountain nearby. On his way back, he stopped beside her. "May I?" he asked, his voice quiet but steady. She blinked, surprised anyone was talking to her. Even more surprised it was him. "Try dropping your shoulder half, an inch," he said, motioning with his hand. "Widen your stance. Trust me." She looked at him, then the bag, then back at him, skeptical. But something in his tone. It wasn't like he was guessing. It sounded like he already knew. She tried it, adjusted. The bag snapped back smoother, faster. Her eyes widened. "That's better," she said, not even meaning to. Zeke gave a small nod. "Just physics. Been that way since forever." Before she could say anything else, a voice cut in. "Hey, old man." It was Andre, the guy, who ran the gym. "You don't work here. Don't touch the gear. Don't coach the clients. Clear?" Zeke didn't argue. Just nodded once. Didn't mean any harm. Andre narrowed his eyes. "You want to train? You pay. You want to sit? Stay on your bench." Zeke said nothing. Went back to his corner, but the girl looked at him differently now. The day went on. The fighters got louder. The music got heavier. Zeke just sat, quiet, watching, noticing things that no one else did. Loose wraps, sloppy footwork, hands too low. It was like watching a master in the audience of a high school play, seeing all the right notes being missed. That night, when the gym emptied out, Zeke stayed a little longer. He walked to a quiet corner of the gym, opened his bag, pulled out some old gloves, worn, cracked, and then he started moving, not fast, not flashy, just smooth, sharp, precise. Footwork that made no sound, combinations that looked effortless, timing that came from decades, not months. He wasn't trying to show off. Didn't even know anyone was watching, but someone was. A little boy, waiting for his dad, froze when he saw him. Eyes wide, mouth open. It was like watching something real, something raw, something the boy didn't even know existed. Zeke finished, wiped down the gear he used, packed up his bag. He didn't speak to anyone on his way out, but that little boy turned to his dad and said, "Did you see that man? He was like a ninja." And outside, Zeke stepped into the cool night air, one last glance at the gym, and maybe, just maybe, the smallest hint of a smile, because the spark had been lit and the story was only beginning. The next day, Zeke was back. Same hoodie, same gym bag, same quiet steps. The front desk guy gave him a look, didn't say anything, just slid the visitor clipboard across the counter. Zeke signed in and walked straight to that same bench in the corner, sat like he had all the time in the world, and again, he just watched. But this time, a few eyes watched him back, not with respect. Not yet. Mostly with confusion, curiosity, and, from a few, like Reese, pure entertainment. Reese was back at it, camera in one hand, gloves on the other, filming himself mid-workout. "Day 2, y'all," he grinned into the lens. "Old guy's back. Someone check if he's lost." Laughter behind him. Zeke didn't react, didn't flinch, didn't glance over, just watched. Maya noticed. She was back too, working the mitts with another young fighter. Her stance had improved. The adjustment Zeke had shown her, it stuck. Her punches flowed smoother now, landing with a rhythm that even her coach paused to notice. But he didn't ask her how. Miguel, one of the older trainers, just raised an eyebrow and said, "Looks better." That was it. Zeke nodded slightly to himself from across the gym. Didn't smile, just noted it. Later, during a water break, Maya walked by him, hesitated, then turned back. "That thing you showed me yesterday?" she said quietly. "It worked." Zeke looked up. "Good. Don't chase power. Let it find you." She blinked. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer, just nodded once like she'd figure it out when it mattered. Across the gym, Reese noticed the exchange, and he didn't like it. Not one bit. The next hour, Reese spent mocking Zeke louder than usual, imitating his slow walk, pretending to hunch over in the ring. He even wrapped toilet paper around his gloves and shuffled across the floor yelling, "I'm ready, Sonny." More laughter. Zeke still didn't react, but others did. One of the young boys training nearby, he looked maybe 15, watched Reese's act, then glanced at Zeke, and he didn't laugh. He looked uncomfortable. Maybe even a little ashamed. The joke was getting old. That evening, after most people had left, Zeke stayed behind again. This time, he offered to help clean up. Andre, the gym owner, waved him off. "Suit yourself. Just don't break anything." Zeke didn't respond. He just grabbed a towel and started wiping down the equipment like it meant something, like it deserved respect. No shortcuts, no rushing. He tightened loose straps on the heavy bags, picked up stray hand wraps, organized the gloves into matching pairs. It was the kind of work that gets overlooked, but not by Maya. She stayed late too, finishing her bag drills in silence. Watched as Zeke worked. There was something different about the way he moved. Not fast, but efficient, deliberate, like every step had purpose. When he finally stopped, Maya walked over, towel draped over her shoulder. "Why do you do that?" she asked. Zeke looked up. "If you don't take care of your tools, they won't take care of you." "You mean the gear?" Zeke looked around the gym. "I mean everything." She didn't have a reply for that. Not right away. Later, as she packed her things, she caught Zeke in the far corner again, this time shadowboxing slowly. But it wasn't for show. There was no audience, no phone filming. Just him, moving through. Space like the ring still lived in his bones. The way his feet shifted, the way his body snapped to center after each move. It wasn't flashy, but it was beautiful. A rhythm only earned over years. Decades. Maya watched for a moment longer, then left quietly. That night, Reese posted another video. It showed Zeke sitting on the bench, looking tired. Reese had zoomed in while pretending to do commentary. "Today on Boxing with Grandpa, we're gonna nap between rounds," he joked. The comments lit up. Laughing emojis, memes. One said, "Bro looks like he's waiting for a bus, not a fight." But Maya didn't laugh. She opened the app, scrolled, then closed it without hitting like or share. She didn't know exactly who Zeke was, but she was starting to understand something important. He wasn't there to prove anything. He was there to teach, even if nobody was asking him to. By the end of the week, Zeke had become part of the gym furniture. People stepped around him like he was a coat rack in the corner. There, but not really there. Except for Maya. She'd started asking him small questions after training. Nothing formal. No big talks. Just quick things in passing. "How's my weight transfer look today? Should my lead hand stay lower during movement?" Zeke always answered the same way, briefly. No long speeches. Just a phrase, a quiet correction, a short nod, and she kept improving. The others noticed, Reese especially. He didn't like it. He didn't like how she was getting attention, didn't like how she didn't laugh at his videos anymore, and definitely didn't like the way she looked at the old man like he knew something. So, he did what immature people often do when they feel threatened. He pulled a petty stunt. One afternoon, while Maya was in the locker room, Reese snuck over to her training area. He took her wraps, already damp with sweat, doused them with cold water from the sink, then stuffed them under the bench. Maya returned, couldn't find them, finally discovered the soaked wraps. She stared at them, jaw tight. Reese walked by, pretending to cough into his glove. "Maybe don't leave your gear lying around, rookie." Maya didn't say a word, but Zeke had seen the whole thing. He'd been helping the janitor fix a locker hinge near the hallway. Didn't speak, didn't move, until Reese turned to leave. Then Zeke stepped right into his path. "Problem?" Reese asked, smirking. "You gonna swing your cane at me?" Zeke didn't blink. "You've got a lot of energy," he said calmly. "Why not use it in the ring?" A pause. A few heads turned. Reese raised an eyebrow. "Wait. Are you challenging me?" Zeke nodded. "Just once. 3 rounds," he said. "No headgear, just gloves." Now people were really listening. Someone laughed. "You serious?" Reese couldn't believe it. "Yo, this is wild. You want to get in the ring? With me?" Zeke didn't say another word. Just stood there. Calm. Still. That made it worse. Because now Reese didn't know if it was a joke or something else. By this point, Andre had walked over. "What's going on?" Reese turned to him, grinning. "Old-timer wants a match. 3 rounds." Andre looked at Zeke like he was trying to figure out if this was a prank. "You for real?" he asked. Zeke's answer was simple. "Yes." Andre laughed so hard it echoed off the walls. "Okay then, Friday. We'll set it up. I'll even live stream it. When Reese knocks you out, maybe we'll get some views." Phones came out. Videos were already being recorded. Clips started popping up on social media within the hour. Old man versus gym champ, Friday night. Some laughed, others cringed, but Maya. She just stared at Zeke. She caught up with him as he left the gym. "Are you serious?" she asked. "You're going to fight him?" Zeke didn't stop walking. "I'm not here to win," he said quietly. "I'm here to remind." "Remind who?" she asked. He stopped, looked back at her. Everyone. That night, the gym buzzed. Online. Posts went viral. Comments rolled in by the hundreds. Some said Reese should take it easy. Don't kill the guy. Others mocked Zeke. Someone tell this boomer it's not 1975 anymore. But a few comments stood out. Why does the old dude look like he's seen war? Bet he's got something in the tank. He doesn't smile. That's not confidence. That's calm. By Thursday, the match had become more than a joke. It had become an event. Andre doubled down. He brought in a live stream crew, hired a guy to do ring announcing, made new shirts for the gym with the caption, "Retirement Plan, Friday night." Reese practiced taunts, not jabs. He filmed videos acting like an old man, leaning on a walker saying, "Better have life alert. In the ring, Zeke!" Everyone laughed, except Maya. She watched it all and felt something shifting. Not just in Zeke, but in herself. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. But somehow, he had gravity. The kind that doesn't shout to be seen. It just draws you in. That evening, she caught Zeke sitting alone in the locker room, wrapping his hands. The wraps were old, faded, but his fingers moved like it was routine. Like muscle memory guided every twist. "Why do this?" she asked. "You've got nothing to prove." Zeke paused, didn't look up. "Sometimes," he said, "silence gets too loud. And sometimes people forget the difference between loud and strong." Maya didn't speak, just sat beside him. After a long moment, she asked, "You think he's ready for you?" Zeke finally looked up. "Doesn't matter." "Why not?" He gave a quiet smile, small, but real. "Because I'm not doing this for him." Friday came fast. The gym looked different that day. Cleaner, brighter, louder. Someone brought in lights. Another person set up a live stream rig. The crowd wasn't just fighters now. There were bloggers, local reporters, even a small crew from a sports YouTube channel, all waiting to see the same thing. An old man get humbled. Zeke arrived early. Of course he did. Same hoodie. Same bag. Same calm. He walked past the posters hanging up, one with Reese flexing under the words, "Youth over yesterday." He didn't flinch. He just went straight to the bench, sat quietly, began wrapping his hands with the same steady rhythm. But this time, people noticed. Even the ones who mocked him before were now watching from the corners of their eyes. Maya was already there. She hadn't slept much. Every time she tried to close her eyes, she'd see Zeke standing alone in the ring. Calm, still, waiting. She sat beside him. "You okay?" she asked. Zeke didn't look up. "Did you do the work?" he asked in return. She nodded. "Then I'm okay." A few feet away, Miguel leaned against a wall, arms crossed. The older coach hadn't said much all week, but he'd been watching. Now, as the cameras came in, Miguel walked over to Zeke and held something out. An old boxing magazine. Yellowed, edges curled. The cover showed a young fighter holding up a championship belt, and behind him a man with familiar eyes. Stern, focused. It was Zeke. "Ray Barnes, Lightning in the Ring, with trainer Ezekiel Miles." Zeke looked at the magazine for a long moment. His jaw tightened. His eyes didn't. "I remember this day," he said softly. "You trained Ray Barnes?" Maya asked, stunned. "For 8 years," Zeke said. "From his first fight to his last." Miguel looked at him carefully. "Why didn't you say anything?" Zeke shook his head slowly. "People remember the glory. They don't want the grief." "What happened?" Maya asked. Zeke's hand brushed over the edge of the magazine. "My son fought once, just once. He was good, but he took a match he shouldn't have. An underground card, illegal weight difference, bad refs, wrong crowd." A pause. He didn't walk out. The room went still. Maya sat back. "That's why you left boxing." Zeke nodded once. "You don't train after that. You survive." No one said anything after that. There wasn't anything to say. Across the gym, Andre had no idea what was happening. He was too busy checking the livestream feed, posing for a shot, barking orders at his staff. He didn't see Miguel standing with Zeke, didn't see Maya learning the truth. He only saw numbers, Clicks, shares, buzz, and he was loving every second. Reese strutted in like it was fight night in Vegas. New shorts, shiny robe, camera crew trailing behind him. He wore a smug grin like armor. As he walked past the ring, someone called out, "Yo, Ree, you ready to retire this dude?" He grinned. Already picked out his rocking chair. Laughter, but it didn't feel as loud as before. Not everyone was laughing this time. Some had watched Zeke shadowbox late at night. Some had seen the videos Maya refused to post out of respect. Some just felt it. That quiet, heavy air around Zeke wasn't fear. It was focus, the kind you don't fake. As the match approached, Maya sat alone for a few minutes, scrolling through old clips. Footage of Ray Barnes with Zeke in the corner. Sparring sessions, interviews, little things Zeke had never bragged about. One clip stood out. Zeke standing outside the ring yelling quietly, "Let the fool swing first. Then show him what silence looks like." She watched it 3 times. The ring was ready. The crowd gathered. Some stood, some streamed. Some waited for what they thought would be easy content. Zeke stepped in first. No robe, no music. No gloves raised. He moved like the ring already knew him. Reese followed. Flashy, grinning, flexing for the phones. The contrast was jarring. The referee called them to center. Ran through the rules. Zeke stared straight ahead. Reese didn't look. Him in the eye, just kept grinning for the camera. They tapped gloves, then went to their corners. In the crowd, Miguel leaned close to Maya. "They think this is about a punch," he said. "They don't know it's about memory." She nodded. Then, the bell rang. Reese opened fast, big swings, sharp feet, fast hands. Zeke didn't throw a punch, not yet. He just moved, not running, sliding, shifting, timing. Reese hit air, again and again. Some in the crowd started yelling, "Come on, hit him!" But the veterans watching didn't yell. They watched. One older man leaned in and said, "Kid's missing something." "What?" his friend asked. Patience. End of round 1. Zeke hadn't landed anything big, but Reese looked annoyed. He wasn't connecting, and something about that was bothering. "Him?" Andre yelled from outside the ropes. "Stop playing with him! Just end it!" Round 2. Reese charged. More aggression. Wild swings. Zeke slipped one, then another. Then finally, just as Reese threw a looping hook, Zeke stepped in. One short, tight uppercut to the ribs. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, but it was perfect. Reese's breath caught, his knees buckled, he dropped. The crowd gasped. Phones lowered. You could hear the silence. Reese didn't get up right away. When he did, it was slow, confused, like he wasn't sure what had just happened. The round ended, so did the jokes. Zeke didn't celebrate. He just walked to the corner, sat down, took a sip of water, the same way he had for decades, quiet, focused, at peace. The moment Reese hit the canvas, the gym froze. No cheers, no jeers, just that strange kind of silence that fills a room when reality suddenly rewrites itself. Zeke didn't even look surprised. He just stepped back to a neutral corner, gloves, still up, breathing calm and steady, like he'd done this exact thing 100 times before. Reese stayed down for a few seconds longer than anyone expected. He didn't pass out. He wasn't hurt badly, but he wasn't standing tall either. He was humbled. And for a man like him, that hit harder than any punch. The referee counted, more out of obligation than belief. Reese made it up by 8, nodded. That he was okay. But you could see it. His eyes. They weren't angry anymore. They were confused. How did this happen? Who was this man? Round 3 went the distance, but it didn't matter. Zeke didn't press, didn't try to finish it. He let Reese move, let him throw, slipped when needed, blocked when it counted. landed short counters, nothing wild, just enough to say, "I see you, but I'm not here to break you." When the final bell rang, the crowd didn't explode like you'd expect. They stood slowly, some clapped, others just stared, trying to process what they'd seen. The man they'd laughed at for days, mocked online, joked about on camera, had just walked into the ring and taught the gym's pride a lesson, not in pain, but in control. A lesson in presence. Reese pulled off his gloves in silence. He didn't storm out. He didn't make excuses. He just sat in his corner, head down, chest rising and falling, like a storm had passed through his body and left him hollow. Across the ring, Zeke untied his own gloves with quiet hands. He didn't raise them, didn't smile, just placed them neatly beside his bag, stood and walked toward the door. As he passed Reese's corner, he paused, didn't look down on him, didn't speak, just gave a short nod. Respect? That moment, quiet, nearly invisible, spoke louder than anything Andre had shouted in the last 3 weeks. Outside the gym, a few kids were waiting, not to tease, but to ask questions. "Can you teach me footwork like that? Do you have your own gym? Are you coming back tomorrow?" Zeke didn't promise anything. He never did. But he looked at them, really looked, and said, "Come early, be quiet, watch first." They nodded like he'd handed them gold. Back inside, Andre was fuming. He tried to spin it on camera. Well, it was more of a friendly match. We wanted to show respect to the older generation. Great moment, great exposure for the gym. But his usual smooth talk landed differently now. People weren't buying it. Miguel was leaning on the far wall, arms crossed, watching Andre unravel with a small shake of his head. Beside him, Maya smiled. Not because Zeke had won, but because he hadn't even tried to win. He just showed them. That night, social media exploded, not with jokes, with replays, freeze frames of Zeke's uppercut, slow-motion breakdowns of his footwork, threads analyzing his shoulder angle and pivot. Comments poured in. That wasn't luck. That was experience. I thought it would be a meme match. This was a masterclass. Where did this man come from? And most important, who is Ezekiel Miles? Maya stayed late again. She wasn't training, just sitting on the bench where Zeke usually sat. His bag was gone, but somehow, his presence still felt like it was in the air. She scrolled through old articles, started typing his name into search engines. There wasn't much, a few scattered mentions, a black and white photo here, a forum thread there, but no big interviews, no profiles, just whispers, until she found a clipping from a sports magazine. Dated 1982, Ray Barnes, 28-0. The man behind the storm, trainer Ezekiel Zeke Miles. The photo showed a young man standing behind Barnes, arms crossed. Same eyes, same stillness. She exhaled slowly. She'd trained in this gym for 2 years and had never once seen anyone move like that. Now she knew why. The next day, Zeke came back. Same hoodie, same bag. But the gym felt different. People moved around him with quiet respect. No jokes, no phones in his face. Andre tried to pretend nothing had changed, but everyone else knew. Reese didn't show up until late. He walked in with no camera, no crew, hoodie up, shoulders low. He nodded at Zeke when their paths crossed. A real nod this time, one that said, "I see you now." That evening, Maya and Miguel sat across from Zeke in the locker room. Miguel slid over the magazine article she'd printed. "Out. I knew it was you," he said. "Took me a minute. You haven't aged much, just got quieter." Zeke chuckled softly. "Quieter's not always a bad thing." Maya leaned forward. "Why did you come here? After all these years?" Zeke took a long breath. "Couldn't stay away. I walked into this gym by accident. Thought I'd watch a few rounds. Didn't expect to care again. Miguel asked gently, "What changed?" Zeke looked at Maya. "You did." The week after the match, everything changed. Not for Zeke. He still arrived early, still sat in the corner, still spoke only when it mattered. But the gym wasn't the same. The bench that used to sit empty beside him now filled up quick. Young fighters sat close, hoping to catch advice, even when Zeke wasn't speaking. Reese, once the gym's loudest presence, came in quietly now. No flashy outfits, no camera crew. Just hand wraps, gloves, and a quiet nod toward Zeke when their eyes met. Respect had taken root, and that for Andre was a problem, because respect doesn't sell as fast as spectacle. Andre had built his brand on flash. Loud fighters, viral clips, showboating knockouts. Zeke didn't fit into any of that. But now? People weren't clicking for Reese's jokes. They were rewatching Zeke's uppercut, commenting on his footwork, asking about old-school boxing. Local promoter named Lucas Dane took notice. He showed up in a pressed suit and designer sneakers, talking numbers before he even introduced himself. Slick smile. Expensive cologne. Too many rings on one hand. He watched Maya spar, arms crossed. When she stepped out of the ring, sweaty and flushed, he greeted her like they were old friends. "You've got something, kid," he said. She blinked. "Do I know you?" "I'm Lucas. I work with fighters who've got real potential." Maya wiped her face. "That's a lot of people." "Not like you," Lucas said. "We're putting together a televised card next month. Big venue, sponsorship. Real crowd. You'd be co-main event." Maya paused. "Why me?" "You've got the story," he said smoothly. Young woman, underdog, mentored by a mystery legend. People eat that up. She tilted her head. "You mean Zeke?" Lucas gave a little shrug. "Sure, he's got a vibe. But this next level, we'd need someone else in your corner." That stopped her cold. "What?" "You know, someone younger, licensed, more promotable." "I don't care about promotable," she said. "I care about real." Lucas laughed politely. "Real doesn't sell tickets, Maya. Stories do. If you want a career, you've got to play the game." She said nothing. Not right away, but something in her chest tightened. Later that night, she found Zeke packing up his bag. "Lucas offered me a televised fight," she said. "Co-main, big payday." Zeke didn't look up. "And?" "He said I'd need a different trainer." Zeke paused, then zipped his bag. "You should take it," he said. Maya blinked. "What?" "You've worked hard. If this opens doors, walk through them." "You're not upset?" Zeke finally looked at her. "I'm not here for credit. I'm here for your foundation. After that, it's your path." "But they're wrong about you," she said. "You are promotable. You're a damn legend." Zeke shook his head. "A legend's just a story somebody survived long enough to tell. That's not why I came back." The next morning, Reese caught Maya by the lockers. "You taking the deal?" he asked. "Thinking about it," she said. Reese nodded slowly. "They offered me the same thing last year. Different fight, same pitch." "And?" "I took it." Maya tilted her head. "You mean the one where you knocked out that guy in the second?" Reese's jaw tightened. "Yeah, that was the deal. They picked my opponent. Told him how long to last. Whole thing was a show." She blinked. "You faked it?" He looked away. "At the time, I told myself it was just business. But the truth is, I couldn't sleep for a week." She stared at him. He added, "That's why I stopped clowning around, started actually training. That uppercut from Zeke, it didn't hurt as bad as knowing I'd been lying to everyone, including myself." Meanwhile, Miguel was quietly piecing together something troubling. Late at night, he dug through old financial records, licensing databases, commission paperwork, and A name kept popping up: Clive Rocco. Lucas Dane's company had a partial investor listed under that name. Miguel's face hardened. He knew that name. Clive Rocco had been in the boxing game for years. Quietly, in the background, fixing matches, controlling fighters, pressuring young prospects into bad deals. And once, a long time ago, he'd been connected to a fight Zeke's son never walked away from. It wasn't just business, it was personal. Miguel told Maya first. "This fight they're offering," he said, "it's not clean." She sat back. "What do you mean?" "They don't want you to win. They want you to almost win. Put on a good show, make their champ look great, then lose by decision." She clenched her jaw. "So it's fixed?" "Not officially, but controlled. They call it managed outcomes. It's how they protect their investments." "What happens if I don't follow the script?" Miguel didn't answer right away. That was answer enough. The next morning, Maya stood outside the gym waiting for Zeke. When he arrived, she said, "I'm walking away from the fight." Zeke gave the smallest smile. "Good." "I'd rather struggle and sleep at night," she said. "I didn't come this far to be somebody's puppet." He nodded once. "I've got one condition, though," she added. Zeke raised an eyebrow. "We keep training, but not in this gym." He smiled, just a little more this time. And just like that, they started again. In a warehouse a few blocks away. No mirrors, no ring, just a concrete floor, a few mats, and an old heavy bag Zeke had kept in storage for years. Reese showed up on the third day. Didn't say a word. Just nodded and started skipping rope. Other young fighters followed, not because it was flashy, but because it wasn't, because it felt like the real thing. Word spread. People stopped calling it Zeke's gym. They called it something else. Second round. 6 months later, the crowd was bigger than anything Maya had ever imagined. A real arena this time. Hundreds of people packed into their seats. Bright lights, commentators at their table, cameras everywhere. The energy was thick, part nerves, part noise, and part memory. The title was on the line. But Maya wasn't just here to win a belt. She was here to prove something bigger. Not to the judges, not to the sponsors, to herself, and to the one man in Dwight. The stands who taught her how to fight without losing who she was. Zeke Miles sat 20 rows up, hands resting on his knees, eyes calm. The arena buzzed around him, but he didn't move. He was watching the ring like a carpenter watches a table he built with his bare hands, hoping it holds, but knowing deep down that it will. The road to this fight had been rough. After walking, away from the shady promotion deal, Maya's career didn't stall. It took off. Word spread about her stand against corruption. Clips of her training at second round went viral. People were drawn to her, not because of drama or marketing, but because she fought real, raw, fundamental, precise. Just like Zeke taught her. One by one, doors opened. An honest promoter picked her up. A fair opponent was offered. A proper title. Shot. No strings, no planned outcomes. Just fists, footwork, and whatever the heart could carry. In the weeks leading up to the fight, second round transformed. The floors got new mats. The lighting improved. Even a handmade sign went up above the door. Damien's Corner. Zeke didn't put it up himself. Reese did. He didn't ask. Just showed up one morning and bolted it in place. When Zeke saw it, he didn't speak. He just nodded and walked inside. Training camp was old school. No machines. No fancy tech. Just sweat, tires, ropes, shadowboxing until the echoes of old ghosts were quiet. Reese became Maya's full-time sparring partner, pushing her, challenging her, helping her find limits she didn't even know she could pass. "You're better than me now," he said one day after a long round. She looked at him, breathless. "No, I just stopped trying to be someone else." The night before the fight, Maya and Zeke stood alone in the warehouse gym. The lights were off, except for one bulb swinging overhead. They didn't speak much, just silence. Heavy, but peaceful. Finally, Maya said, "You sure you're not coming? To the locker room?" Zeke shook his head. "Commission still hasn't approved me as your corner." "They will. Eventually," she said. Zeke looked up at her. "You don't need me in your corner. You carry me already." Maya swallowed a lump in her throat. Still, would have meant a lot. Zeke gave a small smile. "I'll be close," he said. "I always am." Fight night. Maya stood under the hallway lights, ready to walk out. Reese stood behind her, gloves in hand. Miguel, officially registered as her cornerman, adjusted her robe. But Maya was locked in, focused. When the announcer called her name, she walked out to the roar of the crowd, not with a showy dance or fists in the air, just calm steps, purpose. Across the ring stood Jasmine Sullivan, undefeated. Taller, older, the reigning champion. She didn't smile, didn't show nerves. This was business. And Maya, she was ready to show what real business looked like. First round. Fast. Sullivan opened with heavy shots, trying to control the pace. But Maya slipped, blocked, dipped just like Zeke taught her, shoulders tight, elbows close. She didn't rush, didn't flinch. She was reading, learning. By the end of the round, Sullivan was already blinking in frustration. The second and third, Maya started to touch her, jabs snapping, body shots digging in, moving her feet just enough to stay out of reach. Every time Sullivan came forward, she met the shell. Zeke's shell. At ringside, Zeke barely moved. Just a small nod. Miguel caught the cue. "You're doing fine," he told Maya in the corner. "She's falling into her own power." Round 5. Sullivan adjusted, threw a looping right that clipped Maya's temple. The crowd gasped. It didn't drop her, but it rocked her. For a split second, the lights felt too bright, the noise too loud. Maya stepped back, regrouped. Her eyes scanned the crowd, and found Zeke. He wasn't shouting, wasn't gesturing. He just looked at her, steady, and tapped his hand once against his chest. "You know who you are." Maya reset her stance, breathed, and fought. Rounds 6 through 9 were a masterclass. Maya's movement sharpened. She countered, with confidence. Her timing was perfect, slipping Sullivan's right, landing a left hook to the ribs, pivoting off the line. By round 10, the crowd was chanting her name. Sullivan swung hard, but missed more than she hit. And when the final bell rang, Maya stood center ring, hands by her side. No jumping, no celebrating, just breathing. Alive, present, exactly the way Zeke had always taught her to be. The decision came in. Unanimous. Maya Johnson, new lightweight champion. The crowd erupted. Miguel lifted her arm. Reese clapped. From the ropes, journalists swarmed the ring, but Maya didn't talk to them. She walked straight to the edge of the ring, pointed into the crowd, and found Zeke, 20 rows up. Standing now, still not smiling, just nodding, tears in his eyes. That night, as the arena emptied, Maya walked into the parking lot still in her fight robe. Zeke stood beside a street lamp, his old gym bag at his feet. She walked up and handed him the belt. He shook his head. "That's yours." She looked at it, then back at him. "Then hold it, just for tonight." He took it, held it like it was something sacred. "I thought I was done," he said quietly. "I thought you were too," she replied. "But maybe," he added, "we don't always get to decide when our story ends." Maya looked at him. Or, who finishes it? They stood there a moment longer. Then Zeke smiled, really smiled. "I think it's time to open a second ring," he said. 3 months later, Damien's corner was fully rebuilt, no longer a warehouse. It was a full gym now. Fresh paint, new rings, posters of Ray Barnes, Damien, and now, Maya. And in the far corner, Zeke, holding pads, teaching kids, watching them grow. He didn't yell, didn't chase anything, but they listened, because when Miles spoke, it meant something. Reese ran beginner classes now. Miguel handled the business. And Maya? She trained quietly between media days, knowing another fight would come, but also knowing something more important had already been won. Some stories are loud, others are quiet, but the ones that last, they live in the people they shape. Zeke didn't come back to fight. He came back to remind the world what fighting really meant. And this time, he wasn't walking away. He was passing it on.